Welcome, everyone. It is once again, my tremendous honor to have with us the one and only Dr. Deepak Chopra. Deepak, welcome back to World Unity Week.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be with you.
Deepak, I know that you are pushing so hard at the moment with so many incredible initiatives and moving forward the needle on the rising consciousness that is out there in the world at the moment, and people really stepping forward to reclaim our power and our own transformation, which is where everything begins. And you've been teaching that for many decades. In World Unity Week, it's really how we're coming together with other groups and the associations of groups about how we can better organize ourselves to become a system of influence on the planet. You spoke so passionately last time about the corruption of power that is ruling the world at the moment. And so how can we move forward, Deepak, from where we are now to where we want to be in terms of reclaiming power from a corruption to a compassionate orientating principle?
I personally feel that activism and the way we've pursued it for any cause, whether it's world unity, social justice, economic justice, peace, sustainability, you name it, activism in the way we pursued it has not worked. You know, I grew up being an activist in the 70s. I was in medical school at that time. And actually in the 60s, I was late 60s, I was in the medical school. I was involved with Greenpeace. I was involved with the anti-war movement in Vietnam. I thought we would change things in 10 years. And actually now 50 years have gone by or more, and we're worse than before. So I'm not one that believes in activism anymore, number one. Then I saw a new phase that was called sacred activism, which was rather than fighting the darkness, bringing the light. Even that didn't work. You know, all the wonderful we have a lot of technology to create peace, and we have a lot of knowledge also to create peace and bring about unity, but it hasn't happened. I mean, wherever you see in the world, you see ethnocentrism, racism, bigotry, hatred, war, prejudice, terrorism. And even as you and I are speaking, there are conflicts all over the world right now, and mechanized death happening globally right this moment. So nothing has worked. So, you know, I finally did come to the conclusion, which is not my own, it's ancient. You can only yourself be the change you want to see in the world. And so peace can be created only by those who are peaceful. Those who are peaceful, not by peace Nobel laureates, not by peace activists, but those who are at peace. You know, this is the first yama in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. There are 5 yamas, 5 niyamas. The first is ahimsa, which means peace consciousness, non-violence. And the sutra says, Patanjali says, when you're firmly established in peace consciousness, then all beings around you cease to feel hostility, not by what you say, not by what you do, not by all your campaigns, but by your presence. So, you know, I'd like to say that if we had a critical mass of people who were actually embodying ahimsa, then we would have unity in the world. Otherwise, all the campaigns in the world, in my view, are going to fail. So the first start is, can we be the change we want to see in the world? Can I here have the presence of peace, embody it, so I don't have to say anything or talk to you? My presence should be peaceful, not only to humans, but other sentient beings, dogs, cats, tigers, wolves, snakes, whatever. That would be the highest embodiment of peace, the presence of peace consciousness within us. Now, having said that, that's peace presence, being in peace, but then thinking peace, imagining peace, speaking peace, acting peacefully, getting together with other people who are in that domain of peace consciousness. So I said being peace, feeling peace, imagining peace, creating peace, speaking peace. In other words, every aspect of your being, from being, feeling, thinking, imagining, speaking, and doing, expresses that. And if we could create a critical mass of that, yes, we would have peace. So if I have any message for World Unity Day, I would say we need critical emergence right now. Emergence, I don't know if I've spoken about it in the past with you, but social scientists are talking about emergence. And that happens when you have shared vision globally. Right now, that's what we're talking about, world unity. So emergence happens when you have shared vision, which is what you are sharing with us right now, shared vision with all these organizations and sub-organizations. Shared vision, maximum diversity, indigenous people, but also scientists, also technologists, also storytellers, also entertainers, songwriters, poets, street poetry, hip hop, whatever. If you bring everybody together, maximum diversity of gender, maximum background of the humanities, maximum understanding of science and technology, complementing strengths, maximum diversity, and then complementing each other's unique skills and talents in this domain with an open system, open forum, total transparency, collective incubation, perhaps global meditation, and then see what happens. That might be hope for the future.
Oh, wonderful, Deepak. Wonderful. You did speak about emergence when we spoke last year, and we took that on. And I'm very happy to say that we not only have the Indigenous presence deeply embedded into World Unity Week, as it always was, but more and more scientists coming forward now and being a part of this as well. People like David Sloan Wilson, the evolutionary biologist, who's doing incredible work in proving that altruism is a driving force for evolution at the group level, and refuting the selfish gene ideology that had been proposed earlier. So bringing together the artists, intergenerational children's programs, this is a small seed of the emergence about which you are speaking. And it's great to hear you talking about it again, because it does fill us with a sense that, even on a small way, that together we are, coming towards the right track here of bringing this maximum diversity with a shared purpose. So I suppose one thing that's changed everything over the last year and a half, Deepak, the global pandemic and the shutdown has caused untold suffering and great loss of life. And it's also been a shared experience at a planetary level for a sustained period of time, the likes of which I can't even think about anything that comes close to. So this, yes, that the inner peace is the only game in town. And you've been very clear about that and focusing on that as something that you've seen and demonstrated is effective, whereas the external activities have proven so far to be ineffective. So you're very clear on that message. But in terms of a rising planetary consciousness, where something through the pandemic, which has changed everything, business has changed, the way we work has changed, so much has been transformed from this period and this experience. Do you see also a pathway from where we are to an increasing planetary consciousness, Deepak, that can help inform that sense of inner peace and help actually support the individual sense of inner peace, because there is a greater shared experience with the planet and all of life?
Yeah, I think what we need to also look at is that every aspect of existence is entangled with every other aspect of existence. The pandemic did bring some awareness of that, as we saw when we returned to our cages, which I mean our homes with the lockdown. Yeah. nature's actually started to celebrate. Birds were singing in the morning in polluted cities. You could see the Himalayas from 400 miles away. Fish were returning to dead lakes. Even the canals of Venice were seeing fish. And you could see the stars at night. So in a way, whatever universal consciousness is, which projects itself as the universe, was saying, hey, humans, when you come back, a little less hubris, a little more humility, and understand that you're not separate from life. You are an expression of life and one expression of life. And if you don't respect that, same thing will happen. So right now, even though I'm very encouraged by the pandemic sort of beginning to wane with the vaccines, but we are seeing even with the vaccines, new strains are coming. I think if we don't see the connection between climate change, mass migrations, conflict, terrorism, war, mechanized ways of killing ourselves, if you don't see the connection between social, economic justice, peace, sustainability, sustainable biology, sustainable ecosystem, and the ecosystem, the biosphere, we have this thing. We say, me and the world, me and you, me and the universe. When me is just one little flash of lightning in this universal consciousness where we're all entangled. So right now, when I talk about maximum diversity, what you need for world unity also is people who are experts, and there are so many people who have so much knowledge about climate change and how we can reverse it. I can give you the data that we can reverse climate change by just resurrecting the planetary microbiome if we wanted to. Only one aspect. Changing how we do food production, another aspect. Changing how we produce energy, another practice, another aspect. Bringing information technologies together, another way. Everything from information technologies to food production to energy to transportation to how we create materials for consumption or for even technology. If all these things are addressed by experts and you see the entanglement of each of these, then you have a glimpse of what unity is, because unity is not just emotional or intellectual, or ultimately it is. When you get to the ground of existence, it's all one. Okay. And also there is a confusion in the world between differentiation and separation. So this is very important. Maximum diversity is not separation, it's differentiation. When I started my life as a fertilized egg, and it became a zygote and an embryo and a baby, and now this, one cell differentiated into 50 trillion cells, which is more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Now I have a nose and eyes and lips and brain and hair follicles and immune system. We think these are separate. No, this is one thing or one activity. Your eyes are not separate organs. They're separate activities. Okay. So your brain is not a separate organ from your heart. It's a separate activity of one consciousness in this body. And what we call the environment is also alienating. Why do I call it the environment? If the air is my lungs, is my breath, if the rivers and waters are my circulation, if the earth is recycling as my physical body, if the stars created the atoms that are in my body right now, then I am not a separate being. I'm not separate from what I call the environment. I have a personal body. I have a universal body. They're both equally mine. If I put a rabbit in a vacuum, it dies. If I put a plant in a vacuum, it dies. You put the two together, they both thrive. So I think one of the things, even as we explore world unity, we should understand that the biosphere out there and the biosphere here, which includes body, mind, spirit, the whole aspect, the physical aspect, the mental aspect, the emotional aspect, the spiritual, it's one activity. And that requires a deep shift in our awareness of how we define the world. It's not me and the world. The world is me. The universe is me. In Indian wisdom traditions, we have some beautiful phrases. Aham Brahmasmi, I am the universe. Tattvamasi, I am that, you are that, all this is that, that alone is. So when I ground myself in that state of being where I don't feel separate from anything that exists, then love doesn't become a moral obligation. Empathy is what you feel when you're grounded in that inseparable existence. Empathy means feeling what another feels. If somebody hits somebody, you feel the pain literally, because you are entangled biologically, emotionally, spiritually. Empathy is feeling what somebody feels. And compassion arises as the natural consequence, which is the desire to alleviate suffering, which leads to loving kindness and equanimity and love in action. As I've said before many times, love without action is meaningless. Action without love is irrelevant. When you have love in action, the whole world wants to help you. So I would say for everyone listening to this conversation right now, just get rid of this idea, what's in it for me, and ask, how can I serve? That's called karma yoga in my tradition. So there are many yogas. Yoga means union with the source. When Jesus Christ says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light, that's yoga. I'm connected with the source. In Christianity, father doesn't matter. Father doesn't mean dead white male in the sky. It means a higher being as a parent. So when I feel that, then it becomes impossible for me to hurt or be hurt. Empathy, in the Buddhism tradition, they say empathy, compassion, loving kindness, and equanimity are the key. So we start with that. We create a critical mass, and we see what happens. That's Raja. There's Raja Yoga, which is the spiritual practices. 8 limbs of Raja Yoga. Then there's Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of love. Then there is Jnana Yoga, the intellectual understanding of inseparability. And then there's Karma Yoga, love in action. That's the key in my view.
That is so magnificent, Deepak. We start with that, build a critical mass, and see what happens. Now, I have one last personal question, not too personal, but a personal question. I was talking to one of your friends and associates, Ronaldo Brutocco from the World Business Academy, who we're grateful is a supporter of World Unity Week. And we were talking, sharing stories, and I shared with him a little bit about our experience as in Thai Buddhism in Thailand, which also you've experienced. And then I shared with him our program in Turkey, which was a deep dive in. And he told me how much you love Rumi. And he said, if you ever get a chance, ask Deepak about Rumi. So just as we close today, and this has everything to do with World Unity Week, of course, Deepak, because Rumi is such an icon for so many. But I'd just love to hear maybe a few words about your commentary on Mevlana Rumi as we close today.
So let me show you a beautiful picture I have. Frank, can you show me that painting? I'm glad you asked. I'm just actually looking at a drawing of Rumi right now, which I'm going to know, the one that we were going to put out there. Yes. This is Mevlana Rumi's dancing dervishes.
Wow.
Whirling dervishes. So Rumi lived in the 13th century. He was, of course, born in Afghanistan in a place called Balkh. He's buried in Turkey, but the Persians claimed him because he wrote in Farsi. So he was a universal figure. And his master was, I would say in modern terms, we call them gurus, was Shams at Tabriz. And Rumi had direct access to source, if I may say so. So some of my quotes about Rumi: God's language is silence. Everything else is poor translation. Second quote, out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. We come spinning out of nothingness, scattering stars like dust. This is Rumi. And Rumi is a direct experience of the divine. And just for me to think of Rumi or think of his practices, whether it's the whirling dervishes or his insights, he comes from joy. Right now there's a phrase that we use very universally, the pursuit of happiness, which already says that your fundamental state is unhappiness. So it's a very bad place to start when you use the word pursuit of happiness.
Right.
You come from joy, which in our tradition is called Sat Chitananda. Sat means eternal truth. Chit means pure consciousness. And Ananda means pure joy. So this is our fundamental state when we know ourselves. When we come from joy, there's no need to pursue happiness. It's a byproduct. And so is creativity, so is insight, so is inspiration, so is imagination, so is higher consciousness, and so is transcendence. So Rumi, my master.
Oh, Deepak Chopra, what a joy with you, and see your glowing heart speaking about Mevlana Rumi. I was blessed enough to visit Konya, and his mausoleum is definitely one of the most spiritually powerful experiences of my life and places on the earth. Thank you, Deepak Chopra, for being with us in World Unity Week, and blessings on all your wonderful works.
Thank you very much. It's a delight to be with you again.